Alexander Isak has delivered a frank verdict on Liverpool's heartbreaking last-gasp defeat to Chelsea as the Reds fell to a third consecutive loss. Arne Slot's side relinquished their position at the Premier League summit to Arsenal, following Estevao's dramatic 95th minute strike at Stamford Bridge. The crushing 2-1 defeat came hot on the heels of back-to-back defeats against Crystal Palace and Galatasaray, with Liverpool also shipping a stoppage-time winner during last weekend's loss at Selhurst Park. Isak acknowledged that suffering defeat in such circumstances is the worst feeling in football, and whilst he remains optimistic the Reds can bounce back following the international break, he accepted their performance against Chelsea fell short of expectations. "I think we started off pretty bad," he said. "We worked our way into the game pretty well. I think we came out for the second half and really gave everything to get the result. In the end, it's obviously tough conceding in the last minute like that. In the same way that winning like this is the best feeling, I think it's the worst to lose in this type of way. We created chances, enough to score, but it just wasn't enough today. We just have to keep working hard, bounce back, and get back to winning ways." I think the belief is there that we can bounce back. This team has shown many times. It's never easy, of course, but hard work and working on details and getting back to our best. We have that belief. Isak was given his second Premier League start for Liverpool against Chelsea and set up Cody Gakpo's leveller as he continues to regain match sharpness following a disrupted pre-season at previous club Newcastle United. The Sweden international acknowledges he hasn't reached peak condition yet, but remains optimistic about the campaign ahead as he provided an insight into his progress. "I feel good. I've been working hard to get back to my best," he told LFC TV after the final whistle. "Still working to get back to my best form, but it was good to play out there again today. I was hoping for a different result, but we keep working. I'm very excited for the whole season ahead. Game by game, we have to improve if we want to achieve the things we want to. But I'm really excited." Mo Salah couldn't escape the deafening Galatasaray atmosphere as Liverpool crashed to their second straight defeat. A penalty from Victor Osimhen sealed the night in Istanbul, leaving the Reds under huge pressure in the Champions League. Mohamed Salah shielded his ears from the deafening Galatasaray atmosphere as Liverpool suffered their second loss in as many games. The Reds succumbed to a 1-0 defeat to the Turkish powerhouses in the Champions League on Tuesday night. It follows a narrow 2-1 loss at the hands of Crystal Palace at the weekend, in which Eddie Nketiah scored the winner for the Eagles late in stoppage time. On Tuesday, meanwhile, Victor Osimhen's first-half spot kick sealed the deal for the hosts. Throughout the encounter, Liverpool's players faced a menacing reception from the home supporters, and it seems that Salah, who was surprisingly listed amongst the substitutes, had to protect his ears from the deafening crowd, reports the Liverpool Echo. Following his warm-up, he was seen returning to his position with his hands clasped over his ears, which speaks volumes about the daunting atmosphere Liverpool were required to withstand. Salah was ultimately brought on as a second-half replacement, though he couldn't rescue the match. Explaining his decision to start Salah on the bench, Liverpool manager Arne Slot said, "We have many games to play in the coming days. We have a big game coming up. We have to utilise our squad, and utilising doesn't always mean from the start. Players can come in as well. In many of our games, players have impacted the game, coming off the bench. And indeed they were talking about the last time Mo scored 3 coming off the bench against Rangers. And I know who the manager of Rangers was. That is my current assistant, Gio van Bronckhorst. So they've spoken about this already." Meanwhile, Liverpool midfielder Curtis Jones insisted the hostile atmosphere played a part in the Reds' frustrating night in Turkey. He explained, "It's always hard when you lose games, of course it is, but I thought the lads played well. There were positives from the whole of the game. In the second half they played in a low block, and they are a physical team as well. The fans were behind them for the whole night, and it was a hard game, but we'll go again. I got kicked everywhere. But again, I say it all the time, this is the Champions League, and it is always going to be a hard game. It's their biggest game of the year, I'd say, and I think it showed with the fans and how the players played as well. If you look at their first game, they get beat 5-1 by Eintracht Frankfurt. And if you look at it tonight, it didn't even look like we could have scored. That is just how the game went. Liverpool will be looking to bounce back this weekend when Slot's men travel to face Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, Salah will undoubtedly be keen to find the net against his former club, having netted 3 times in his opening 9 outings this campaign. Federico Chiesa must have felt a whirlwind of emotions during Liverpool's open training session at the AXA training centre, knowing he wouldn't be playing against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League opener. Arne Slot made waves when he boldly left the forward out of his initial European squad, choosing instead to include Rio Ngumoha and Giovanni Leoni, 2 young players tasked with providing depth in attack and defence, despite being ineligible for the Atletico match. And then omitted from the squad for Liverpool's Merseyside derby win over Everton, Chiesa has since been given a second chance. This came after Leoni sustained an ACL injury during his promising debut against Southampton in the League Cup last week. This unfortunate incident allowed Liverpool to utilise new UEFA registration rules and register Chiesa, who had put on a stellar performance against the Saints, in place of his fellow Italian for the rest of the league phase. Chiesa then scored a late equaliser as a substitute against Crystal Palace on Saturday, only for Liverpool to be robbed of a point by Eddie Nketiah's 97th minute winner. Despite spending his debut season at Anfield largely warming the bench, Federico Chiesa is eager to seize his second chance with Liverpool. However, he'll have to bide his time a bit longer. Despite being spotted at open training, he wasn't part of the squad travelling to Turkey, with manager Slot expected to provide an update in his pre-match press conference tonight. Regardless of the circumstances, Chiesa's commitment can't be questioned, a fact that has earned him several plaudits from his gaffer this season. This was perhaps best exemplified by one particularly spirited moment during open training. The 27-year-old, who has already netted 2 goals and provided 2 assists in 6 appearances this season, showed his eagerness during a resistance training exercise, paired with Dominik Szoboszlai for a drill involving a sprint with a resistance band around their waist. Chiesa was raring to go before his teammates had even got their bands on. In a humorous contrast, fellow striker Hugo Ekitike was seen playfully lashing Alexis McAllister with his own band as Chiesa, held back by Szoboszlai, started his sprint. One can't help but ponder how many of Ekitike's teammates and coaches would have fancied giving him a dressing down after his red card for shirt removal in last week's 2-1 triumph over Southampton. Ekitike is set to make a comeback to Liverpool's starting lineup against Galatasaray, following Alexander Isak'S 84-minute stint covering for the suspended forward during the Reds' 2-1 loss to Crystal Palace on Saturday. However, Chiesa will be left twiddling his thumbs once again, having been omitted from another European squad. Not for the first time, he's managed to grab headlines without setting foot on the pitch. The 27-year-old already has a European Championship under his belt with Italy, despite not yet achieving this feat at the club level. His Champions League record is nothing to sniff at either, boasting 6 goals and 3 assists from 16 appearances. Yet he's never made it past the last 16 and has only graced the knockout stages twice. Chiesa will undoubtedly be keen to rectify both records this season, as he aims to thaw out from the Liverpool chill, with his most recent absence being the latest twist in his Anfield saga. Slot has conceded that the forward deserves more chances following his standout performance against Southampton last week. "You only get luck if you work hard," he said ahead of facing Crystal Palace. After the injury to Leoni, we would have brought him in the Champions League squad, but if he didn't do as well as he did against Southampton, we would probably not look at him as if he gets more playing time. But he did so well that it normally leads to a bit more playing time if you can keep producing in training sessions and in the moments we bring him in. Again, an example of a player that hardly played last season, and the amount of players that from a high level all the way down because they don't have a perspective on playing time or development, but he showed the mentality to go up. Now he's getting more minutes, and where that leads to depends also on how others are doing. Chiesa's position in Liverpool's hierarchy remains evident despite his promising beginning to the campaign, with Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo, Isak and Ekitike obviously positioned above him in the rankings. Consequently, first-team chances might stay limited.